What's up, guys? It's Corey, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about Endgame and what my thoughts are on it as a concept and how a lot of other people uh, think about it in ways that do or do not agree with my opinion. Um, so, the reason I want to talk about this is because I've been playing a bunch of games recently. With the start of this year, I started playing Warframe, which some of that went up on the channel. I would like to get back into that at some point. I enjoy that game quite a lot. And then that got taken over by Black Desert. And then right now I am kind of casually playing Tree of Savior, which is currently in a head start period until the end of April, I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't know when the head start actually ends. That game will be free to play. You can see it in the background. It's pretty fun. It looks fantastic. It does not run well while I'm capturing, but other than that, it runs very smoothly. Um, but the reason I wanted to talk about it in regard to those games is that they do not have what most people would consider to be normal end game content. And I don't really know how else to describe it, so that's why I'm saying normal. What I'm actually referring to is the type of endgame content that something like World of Warcraft has, or even Final Fantasy XIV. Um, Lots of MMOs have it, where the end game is dungeons and raids, and they'll have some little things on the side, but that big group dungeon content is the end game. And these games don't have that. Tree of Savior does have something called the Tower of Earth, Earth Tower, something like that. I don't know what it's going to actually be called. Maybe that is actually what it's called. I don't know. But that isn't really the same kind of thing. Um, it's like this challenge tower where every 5 floors there's a boss. They have time limits. Some floors are just kill X number of enemies within a certain time frame, and others are like completing objectives of varying kinds. I haven't seen it. Um, I believe it's 20 floors in total, so there'd be 4 bosses, I guess. Um, but that's kind of it as far as I'm aware in that game. Black Desert is far more freeform and open. Warframe is just kind of keep doing what you were doing before. These games don't have the same type of end game that World of Warcraft has. That World of Warcraft seems to have made the it seems to have made that type of end game the most popular, the most uh, common, I guess. Because obviously, World of Warcraft, being as big as it has influenced a lot of games in the MMORPG genre, in the MMORPG format. Um, and in a lot of ways, that has been good. World of Warcraft is a well-made game. Um, so people like video game creators taking inspiration from World of Warcraft is not necessarily a bad thing. World of Warcraft did that. I mean, Blizzard did that when they were making World of Warcraft. They took inspiration from other games and took the best bits of the genre and smashed them all together, and then they put their Warcraft skin over it and made a good game. And other people are doing similar things with their own skins and their own ideas and making other good games, most of which have not become nearly as popular as World of Warcraft. But that's beside the point. Popularity is not what I'm talking about. Um, what I wanted to talk about really is that in these games, in Black Desert, in Warframe, in Tree of Savior, these games, people say they don't have end game, even though they clearly have end game objectives. But what they're actually saying is these games don't have the end game content that they want. The end game content that is these large group events with their friends where they can get together a couple of times a week and Raid. They don't have raids. They want raids. For whatever reason, it seems like a lot of people think that raids are they are not just a form of endgame, they are the only form of endgame. And I don't understand that mentality. I played a lot of WoW. I played it for like 8 or 9 years, from vanilla up until Mr. Pandaria. I started falling off a lot in Cataclysm, and then just stopped entirely in Mr. Pandaria. Came back a bit for Legion, leveled up to 99, stopped again. Or Warlords. I came back for Warlords. I might get Legion. I don't know why. I've played a lot of World of Warcraft, hundreds, thousands of hours. I know a lot about that game. And most of the time I spent playing that game, I was not raiding. There was a time where I was raiding a lot in BC and into the beginning of Cataclysm, or not Cataclysm, Wrath of the Lich King. I was raiding, and eventually I just got out of it. I tried it for a while. I made a bunch of friends. I got into a different guild that was pretty serious about it. I was in a position at that time where I had the time, and I wanted to try it out because it was the end game in World of Warcraft, and I did it for a while. I did it for a fair while, actually, and got bored, got tired of it. And the thing that really did it for me was when Wrath of the Lich King came out, and we all started questing in Northrend to level up. After a while, some of us, eventually all of us, were replacing all of our gear, all of the stuff that we had spent weeks or months working to acquire, with greens from quests. All of that time and effort that we had put in gave us no benefit after that. We might have been more powerful than we would have otherwise been for the first level or two, or maybe even three, depending on our gear. But then after that, we may as well not have raided ever, because all of the gear we had worked for, all of the progress we had made, was replaced by quest rewards. And that really sucked. It was a very temporary kind of progression. And this is a cycle that World of Warcraft and many other games have repeated over and over and over again. With every new expansion, and even sometimes with just new content updates, they'll make it so that the last tier's gear, the last expansion's gear, whatever it may be, is either obsolete very quickly, or is so easily obtained by pretty much anyone that any of the work you put in is basically null and void. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of that temporary progression. Some people do. Some people they want to raid because they want the group content. And that's cool. If they're getting something out of it that I'm not, then go for it. Their opinion is different than mine. That's cool. That's whatever, It doesn't bother me. But I was in it for the gear. And then the gear, it was never taken away, but it was made useless because there was better stuff out, because the new expansion had come out. And that made it all of that work that I had put in, playing with my guild, raiding, week after week, doing all kinds of content to get to where we were. I forget how far we got, so I'm trying to be as vague as possible, but we spent a lot of time raiding. All of it was meaningless. I didn't want to do it anymore. I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it. I want more permanent progression. And in a lot of games, that's leveling. In There are some games that have fixed that. Things like Diablo 3, the Paragon levels, um, infinite progression, infinite permanent progression. Unless you count starting over for seasons, which maybe there's maybe a valid argument then, but then even then, all of that stuff is rolled back into your main progression at the end of the season. So you're only like you're only temporarily losing that progression, and then you get it back. Um, so I there is a problem with that rating model, and a lot of people don't seem to be bothered by it. But I imagine there have to be a lot of people that are. I want a game that does not take away my progression like that. Like I mentioned, Diablo does that pretty well. It does have balance changes to armor and sets, and that's that could maybe be seen as like if they take a set that you've worked for and nerf it and make it not worthwhile, or just make it like a bad set basically, in comparison to others for your class, then that maybe could be seen as losing progression, as temporary progression. But the main progression in that is not. There is still something there that you were gaining, regardless of the set, regardless of the equipment you're using. Um, Black Desert does the same with its soft level cap thing, although that's less important, but it's still there. Um, it seems like Tree of Savior might do the same thing, at least for a very long time, with its level cap being ludicrously high. I think something like level 600 or something is what I've been hearing. I don't know if that's actually in the game right now, but that seems to be a rumor that I have seen posted in numerous places. Um, that may only be in the Korean version. It may not even be out in the Korean version yet. I have no idea. Uh, I am going into Tree of Savior basically blind, but I have seen, read a couple of things, so I'm going based on my very limited knowledge of that game. Um, but yeah, I don't understand why people think that raiding is the only viable endgame content and nothing else matters. Nothing else is endgame. It just boggles my mind. The types of things that I'm interested in are like system progression, things like Paragon. That is a fantastic system for Diablo 3. Makes that game much better, in my opinion. Um, the reason I wanted to go back to Guild Wars 2 when the expansion came out was because of Masteries, which is a very similar concept, used in a different way, but a very similar concept. Um, and I like that kind of stuff better, because as I have seen, and I'm sure a lot of people that have played a lot of MMOs in the past have seen, there are times where games go through huge content droughts. I know World of Warcraft is in one right now, with it just waiting for the next expansion for Legion to come out. There is nothing to do in that game, unless you want to just do previously released content. And that's another problem with this raid model, is that it is constantly relying on the developers to produce more quality content, more authored content. It is not them creating a system that will keep us busy forever. Um, there are just like the Paragon system. If World of Warcraft like were to implement something like the Paragon system, since it is one of their own games, they could totally do that. Um, and it would be a amazing stopgap, basically, that would allow people to feel like they're constantly progressing with or without new raids. It might help keep their subscriber numbers up. Maybe. I mean, that game's getting old right now, so I don't know if that would actually help all that much. Apparently, that's what Path of the Titans was supposed to be, which is probably never coming because it was announced, 4 expansions ago or whatever it was. So I don't expect that to ever show up, and that's that's probably whatever at this point. It doesn't matter, I guess. But the thing that these progression systems create is the ability for players to run through essentially whatever content they want and still feel like they're gaining something, even if the gains are very small. It's something that the focus system in Warframe allows, which I haven't even unlocked yet. It's something that Paragon allows. It's something that the soft level cap allows in Black Desert. These are progression systems that allow people to progress without the need for new content necessarily. You could play just the base content of Black Desert forever without going to Medea, without ever going to Valencia whenever that's released, and you could, basically get everything you need outside of that. You could get all the XP you needed eventually. It would take forever, so there's absolutely no reason to do that. But it never forces you to go there to gain for new progression. Valencia might be different, I suppose. I don't know a ton about Valencia actually, but just like the soft level cap system allows you to do anything, anywhere, and progress to earn something that is valuable to your character forever. Barring, of course, the uh, death penalty, which takes away a portion of your XP, which kind of sucks. But from everything that I've seen, it's not actually all that. It's actually not that big of a deal until you're past level 55, or 55 or beyond, I guess is what I should say. Then it starts becoming significantly punishing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit, and I didn't have any kind of speech planned or anything like that. I don't know if this is ever going to come out, but I hope that some people are thinking about this in the same way that I am, because I definitely value these types of systems far more than I value the kind of authored raid content that a lot of other people seem to be focused on as the only valid end game in MMOs. That mentality just doesn't make sense to me. They can add that stuff, and that's cool. Like when I wasn't raiding in World of Warcraft, raids still existed. That was fine. I was doing other shit. I didn't care about the raids. The fact that they existed didn't offend me. If they added raids to Black Desert, same thing. They did add a raid to Guild Wars. I didn't do it. I didn't feel like I needed to. I was enjoying the content around that, and I was still gaining progress because of masteries. So, I don't know. I value these systems far more than the raids. So, hopefully there's someone out there that feels the same way that I do, because I feel like I can't be the only one, but I have never talked to anyone else that has agreed with me. So yeah, anyways, I guess that's it, guys. If this does end up coming out, obviously, you'll have seen it, I guess. Um, and yeah, I guess thanks for watching, and I'll be back with something, I guess, as soon as possible. So until then, take care.